the journey that we have had so far on Smart City mission, and we have seen the role of emerging technologies really shaping up. From your experience, what are the two things which you are really proud of achieving, whether it's like looking at data governance frameworks and technologies that we have deployed, and even the emerging technologies like AI, IoT, blockchain, etc., being played out. So two things which you're really proud of, and one thing which you possibly aspire to see coming over.
Good afternoon, everyone. Post lunch, I think the second session after lunch, and I hope all of you are having a good conference. This session is, focused on talking about essentially about how to use technology for transforming uh, urban lives and people's lives and cities. I think what Puru is basically talking about is in the past what smart cities have actually been able to achieve, yeah, on technology. Uh, when we started the smart cities mission in 2015, I when I look back, I think not many of us uh, were in a position to talk about the use of technology in India cities. Uh, Most we used to do was one app here and there, some e-governance software, some NIC platform, some e-district, and those used to be the buzzwords. But then, as we realize that cities are not only about administrative software, they are about many different things. They are about connecting people, they are about bringing innovation, they are about changing economies, they are about social infrastructure, they are about building capacity of people, networking, partnerships. In in one word, if you have to describe a city, it is called connections. And now technology across the cities is being used for more than just managing administrative stuff, to building what we can call connections. So what kind of connections? Connections between people who know and people who don't know. Connections between people who need to work together to solve a problem. So connections between government and citizens and government. Connections between multiple stakeholders. And of course, even if you are organizing a conference like this, you are connected to this conference because of technology. You have an app, you have codes by which you download what is being shared here. So that's one fundamental change that has come. Two things you talked about, and just one I'm mentioning is the way we have been able to use technology to connect people, places, events, organizations, stakeholders, partners, collaborators, innovators. That's one thing that is starting to happen. The impact of this is very difficult to assess, but it's just like in a very simple example, we can learn this. If one person makes 10 cakes in a day, then 10 people, we would presume, will make 100 cakes in a day. But when these 10 people get connected, they learn new recipes. And when they learn new recipes, instead of making 100 cakes, they end up making 200 cakes. So connections amplify the overall aggregate output. And this is very difficult to assess, but this is what happens in cities when they get connected, and technology is playing a very essential role. And I think one of the things that our cities should start to focus on is how do you improve connections between every kind of thing: people, places, objects, events, organizations, everything. The second role I think the technology has started to play is, and that is very special to the Indian context. I think it's applicable over the world, but it's very special to the Indian context because of the way our cities are governed. हमारे यहाँ पे one person is responsible for traffic management, the second is responsible for licenses, the third is responsible for building roads, the fourth is responsible for running buses, the fifth is responsible for whatever. So there's no per one single function which is performed by one agency. It's all disaggregated. Now, this is not a single mayor system where the mayor says and the world acts accordingly. The mayor may say anything, then the collector won't listen. The collector will say anything, the RTO won't listen. The RTO would say anything, this one won't. Now, in a structural issue of this kind, if you can use technology to bring disparate elements within the government, different entities within the government to integrate and act together, it's a great advantage. So that, in a very hyperbolic way we saw in the case of COVID. When COVID happened, 15 organizations could be seen working together in a common integrated command and control center. It became a platform for integrated action. It became a platform of coordinated action, which may not have been required to the same extent in maybe a city where the mayor system is so unique, like the US, where already such integrated action is a routine thing. But in our case, it wasn't. So technology started to integrate action within government, and it has started to improve efficiency of government through this integration. Again, the integration is, again, in a way, the corollary is the same thing: connections. It's connections between government departments, and now they are performing better, whether it is through traffic challans, whether it is through public transport management, whether it is through adaptive traffic control, whether it is through pollution management. Pollution is also such a complex thing: buses, health, education, water, soil. So many people get involved when you have to deal with pollution. So a technological platform can become an uh, integration technique. It's not a technique; it's a platform, integrated platform for bringing everyone together to act on these complex challenges. So I think technology has to bring resilience in the way our cities are going to function in the future. So and that means a lot of different things. And one, of course, one area where cities will have to start using technology is resilience. uh, Plus, in fact, if you look at the kind of issues our cities face are very different. So there cannot be possibly one answer to this question as to where technology will be used more. It will be different for Chennai, it will be different for Bangalore, it will be different for Kochi. And so what needs to be understood is that every city has its own sort of evolving DNA. It is not a static DNA, it is an evolving DNA. And based on where you are today, you decide where you want to go tomorrow. If you are, a city which is struggling with, let's say, solid waste management, and you don't have proper staff, and that's become a critical issue. You face pandemic and epidemics and diarrhea and dengue and malaria cases. Maybe that is where you will use technology to prevent health disasters. Somebody else may use it more for traffic management. Somebody else will move for something else. The point is not about what you end up doing with technology. It's, I think, the journey has to be about understanding the problems that your city faces, building teams which can handle technology. Only yesterday we released the AI playbook for cities. It's just one example of massive amount of work that needs to go in understanding how to deal with technology. It's all, what is technology? Logy is a study of something. Biology is a study of bio. Technology is a study of technology techniques. Tech, so we need a technology logy, which is a logy of technology, which is a study of technology. And it's not a study, we need a practice of technology. So you have to build good teams in cities. You have to invest in platforms. You have to invest in creating processes and policies which help you to manifest the power that is in data systems, the power that is in technology, whatever technology is being used across the world to harness its power. So cities will have to be adaptive, resilient, use technology for social causes, for bettering the lives of the people, to bring people together, to create better communities, to to collaborate and innovate. But for all that to happen, you will have to build proper teams, technological platforms and processes and policies to be able to do that. So this is the journey that we have to take, and we will have to keep facing new situations and emerging from them.
Super, perfect. So I think it's getting now warmed up, Ankit, and possibly you're sitting in the sequence as you started your programs of smart cities. So, Ankit, from the perspective of possibly Kunal also mentioned that two things which we could have already achieved and something which we aspire to. We established the integrated command control in Bhopal somewhere, I think the earliest, possibly the first one. And I still remember when Minister Hardeep Puri was there, he came over to Bhopal and said, it's like NASA. So, from the journey when we started like NASA, what do you think where the learnings of ICC has been there? And possibly also from for the other cities who have come up joined this journey later, what could be the learnings which cities who are still to deploy ICC could take from? An integrated command control is not possibly only a big screen, but what I'm trying to say is that how what was the objective behind it? Did we really achieve that? And that was the first question. Maybe I'll repeat the second question.
Um, so as Kunal sir has already underlined the importance of technology in whatever we are doing, not just in smart cities, but in general with regard to governance. And when we use the terms like digital governance, so I'll basically start responding to it, tracing the whole idea of data generation. Like in my own generation, I've seen data starting getting generated through various technological interventions that have come in, data moving on to become big data, and then with the smart cities concept working very closely and observing things which revolve around the concept of IoT. Even the ACs that we have right now, with which are Wi-Fi connected, the speakers we have Alexa enabled, all these, the amount and the volume of data that is being generated in the system is so huge that the primary requirement of any organization, especially of any government wing that is working, should be ensuring a very robust digital governance, data governance structure in the organization. Because at the earlier scenario when we used to, be in college and we were studying, then it was more about the quality of data and the fact that whether that data can be incorporated into another organization or can it not be. But now the time that we are starting, the time that we are in, with AI, machine learning, all these things coming in, it is very important that we have not just a robust data governance policy, but technological interventions which actually work towards our data correction, which ensure that data can be integrated to other organizations, because as smart city it works very closely with the respective municipal body of the city. So the volume of data that is being generated, and therein lies the interventions of ICCC, the ITMSs, which have been set up in various SPVs, because the sheer amount of data has been so much uh, that we need to define how to handle it. We need to define the cases, define the processes, how it is to be used. So this actually has given a very new paradigm in the times to come for the cities which are now onboarding onto the concepts of ICCC. The most important thing which I need to underline, because it's for me also, it's not been a very long journey in smart city. Earlier I was for a very long time in rural development department, and so that is another department which handles a lot of data. It's completely various MISs are in place. But again, coming to urban, these problems, the datas, the interventions, they are so humongous and they happen in such short period in time that it is very important that cities need to identify the use cases which these infrastructure will actually be used to address. Like COVID actually gave us one of such use case where this glorified infrastructure was used very efficiently, very effectively in most of the cities. But then again, there are many other use cases. For example, in Bhopal, we have integrated our solid waste management structures, which municipal corporation undertakes whatever things we have integrated with us. ITMS is working very nicely. But then again lies in the point, the data that is being generated out of ITMS, the rotary wise data, how many four wheelers are passing, how many two wheelers are passing, the data, the signal synchronization that is taking place, the automation of signal scheduling, all these kind of data, how it is to be used, therein lies the importance of how technology is to be uh, implemented in our organization to define and to guide us how we can use that particular dump of data. So I think that should be the governing principle going forward for all the new cities who are, uh, you know, taking up the projects of ICCC and else.
Thank you, Ankit. And possibly just taking one more step on data, we have seen BNest, which is the innovation hub of startups which you have incorporated, using some of the data which gets generated from the cities. So can you give me one or two examples of how startups can become an important part for leveraging technologies and offering solutions?
Right. So I'll just give my answer in terms of a specific startup which has very recently got good recognition. There's a startup of young children called Cryptonate. They're a very young, 20, 21 years old, third, fourth year of college. They were originally planning. They came up with the idea of designing a solution to further streamline and to make the ATCS system more cost effective. So we gave them a pilot project. We gave them all the data that was available around all the junctions which were given to them. Basis that the classical ATCS system uses many cameras and many sensors. If we compare it to the solution that they came out with, their solution is very cost effective to the tune that a classical ATCS enabled traffic signal takes about 30 lakhs to be set up from scratch. Their system around about 18 to 19 lakhs with all the sensors, cameras, the basic traffic signal infrastructure that needs to be set up. It can be erected for 18, 19 lakhs. We gave them a project. They did 3 junctions with us. Their results, their accuracy has been fantastic. Even very recently, Honorable Prime Minister on Startup Day had appreciated them. Recently, Secretary DPIIT did come to our place and really applauded their efforts. So yes, these kind of things, they may be used.
Perfect. Thank you. So moving over to Vinay. Vinay heads Trivandrum Smart City. So Vinay, from your learning, I know like you have joined the Smart City journey later, and then ICC is still coming in play. But then you have experienced the power of data during the COVID times, and possibly Trivandrum was one of the best cities who could manage the COVID data. So now maybe some experiences from that particular disaster management, and also look at from the perspective of sustainability of such initiatives which you did with regard to technologies, because that's more important that tomorrow how do we sustain cities.
First of all, good afternoon, all, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank C4IR. Now, Trivandrum Smart City has been onboarded on the National Alliance of World Economic Forum. So, thank you very much, and we are looking forward for a healthy interaction. Coming back to your question, per se, from the perspective of a CEO of a smart city, uh, especially this COVID time has been very difficult for us. Like we were round 3 city, Kochi was well ahead of us in Kerala. We were ready with all the DPRs, with all the tenders, and as soon as we started, like we were on the ready, get set, go mode, and then this COVID pandemic came. So we were in a stage of shock. All of a sudden, like 2 years were gone. Now, when this lockdown was lifted, then slowly we have started picking up. And I was posted early as a SDM, and I worked in a different district. Then I joined Trivandrum as DDC, and very recently, last 6 and months, I'm working as CEO. So in both the districts, I was like managing COVID primarily, and I could see the real difference this technology and especially integrated command and control center can bring into your pandemic management. The way data is integrated, a lot of aspects of pandemic management we were doing through ICCC, declaring the containment zones, crowd management, labor movement, labor crisis became a huge problem suddenly. So do you have sufficient data for your labor movement? Like you have to organize the trains to transport these laborers to their parent states. So suddenly all of these things became very important, and Trivandrum were quite comfortable. So we have this integrated command and control center ka setup. Uh, like Kunal sir said, this integration of services and coming together of different departments for managing pandemic. So that was a very like a plus point. Kerala was able to manage this pandemic very effectively. Like I said, Kochi is 2 years ahead of us. They had their ICCC ready. It came very handy during pandemic. Vaccine distribution, containment zone declaration. There was pressure on Trivandrum also. Like you also get your command and control center ready. So we're able to put in, and it came out as a game changer in our role as pandemic management. And second thing, like all of us know, despite all the negatives which this pandemic came, the deaths, the kind of miseries a different section of people has to suffer. Now, public health has come out as a like major theme of smart cities. So this is one learning which has come out, and Trivandrum Smart City also, all the projects we have in and around, like they are centered around this concept of health also. So like moving forward also, we're looking forward to wrap up all the remaining projects. with all the learnings from the initial smart cities we have already done and achieved these projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinay. Thank you so much. Mr. Murthy, so you have been like you come from northeastern state and so much in news that at least Shillong is one of the top most performing northeastern state. Although like you're joining the journey later, maybe that's the reason why we're coming to the last is that at least be able to absorb the learnings which have other cities have to offer. But that's the best part of it. So you're still coming up with the integrated command control. You have been to many cities and try to kind of understand their perspective. So what in your understanding should be the priorities for you leveraging technologies ahead, especially in a state or in a city which is very different from the other cities because it will have its own unique challenges. So if you can talk through it, please.
Good afternoon. As Puru put it, we are the youngest smart city. And so therefore I got 99 brothers and sisters to support me. Having said that, as most of you know, Shillong was selected as the smart city in the year 2018, whereas the first smart city to be selected was Bhubaneswar in 2016, if I'm correct. So therefore we had an almost a 3.5 years of lag. Number one, that was, we could have either taken it as an in a positive direction, or we thought, hey, what to do? We are already 3.5 years lagging behind. Therefore, we made an assessment of what are our strengths first before we go up with all these use cases and everything. Then when we were doing this assessment, what we observed is also that there's no ecosystem existing in Shillong to support us. Whereas in Pune, in Bangalore, or in Chennai, there are a lot of IT companies around which could help the Smriti to move towards the technological governance. Therefore, these are the two drawbacks or the negatives what we observe. If we have to now catch up with our fellow colleagues, therefore what do we do? Therefore, strategically, we decided that we will not reinvent the wheel. We are not going to go to the learning curves. No. We will just talk to all our 99 people about, and then we'll try to learn from them. If I can very loosely use the word the mistake, whatever they've done, we'll not do that. We'll try to leapfrog this learning curve stage. Towards that first step, we had visit to 5 cities, including Pune, Arendt. So therefore, all those we documented, all those, what they have done right, what they have done wrong, what we need to do for our city, whether what they have done, whether we need to do it for our city or what does it our city require, all that. After that, secondly, ministry came up with the concept of sister smart cities. I don't know how the performance evaluated or not, because we were the laggards at that point in time. We were tied up with the Dehradun. So therefore, we got that advantage. So we spoke to the people from Dehradun. That was the peak COVID days, so we could not physically go to Dehradun. But we had on almost a weekly or a fortnightly VCs to the CEO of Dehradun. Lot of documents we got it from them. So therefore, that helped us once again to leapfrog this learning curve. Number two. Number three is that, of course, ministry also was once again helpful because we were now starting to tie up with what the city requires. Then ministry compiled all the learnings of all the other cities and came up with a model RFP for the technical specifications and everything. That helped us a lot. That helped us to the extent that we could procure the MSI in single tender call. Whereas other smart cities, they took 2 or 3 recalls to get the MSI on board. Whereas because of the learnings that was captured by the ministry and a model RFP was made available, so to speak. So that gave us the lump sum, and then we could, now the MSI is on board. So these are what we did is that our weaknesses, we tried to use our fellow colleagues' strength and convert that into strength. And today I'm very happy to, as Puru said, we are relatively doing, still our aspirations are very high. But hopefully in the next, by July first week, we intend to make it operational. And then hopefully from there, we'll look into the data and the data, how to handle the data. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murthy. So we'll just go back to maybe Kunal, any parting comments if you have or something which you'd like to share.
What are those 4 or 5 things that make us use technology in our cities to make ourselves more effective. One is that we have a critical problem of access in our society. Access to government is difficult. Access to health is difficult. Access to schooling is difficult. And if you have to see this in real life, you don't need to go far. You see some of the most important hospitals which are very famous. You people sleeping outside. You go to AIMS in Delhi. People are there 3 days, 4 days just to get a chance to get into the hospital. So there is a problem of access. All of us know that. Access to so many things. Now, how can we use technology to improve access? If the same doctor who is basically going to operate on a patient is going to do the record keeping, is going to do the management of the office, then he will have or she will have limited time to do operations, which will then make bigger lines outside. Can technology help reduce the office work of the doctor and increase his productive time so that you spend more time? You have critical access to resources is a problem, so that resource can be better used. It's one example. Then this basically includes your hospital management systems and everything. And this can also go to your school management system and municipalities. It can go to how you deal with citizens in municipalities and all that. How much time do we have? We have time. Okay. The second is about personalization. So access and then personalization. Today, why does a Byju's stand out in, I'm not advertising X company or Y company, just giving a one example, is because it has literally become each one's personal school. There are three kinds of students probably. One, self learner, kuch karne ki zarurat nahi, this guy will learn and go ahead. There's some who's laggard, not because of anything else, just because this, he could be good in something else in sports, but somehow in studies this person lags behind. The third could be a group learner. Now technology helps you mimic the person's learning style. So the course is not going to change, but the way the course is delivered to you will be different because you are a different kind of learner. The course will be delivered to me is different because I'm a different kind of learner. That will improve learning for all. Eventually, what has happened is I have a different school, you have a different school, because it's almost like when you see your Times of India or Hindustan Times on your mobile every day, your paper is different from mine because you like a particular kind of news feed. That is what you get. If I like sports, I'll get more of sports. If you like more entertainment, you'll get more entertainment. We are reading the same newspaper, but we are reading different things. So that personalization in services is possible in government. The third part, which is possible, is quality. Quality of services is another issue, and there are many ways of dealing with quality. For example, one of the ways that has been tried in schools is parent teacher meetings. Let us say one of the ways you have tried in public transport is this customer feedback forms or something like that. But think about the power of QR codes. You've seen the power of QR codes in this conference. Very next session here is going to depict all that you have been doing in this conference. We have gathered data on all of you. We're not tracking all of you, but almost there. So we know what was happening, how much energy is consumed in the conference, how much of water was consumed, which sessions got how many visitors, how many male, how many female. So all that data is there. Now that will help me enhance the quality of the conference I do later because I know what works, what doesn't work, what people like, what they don't like. Similarly, in government, you can use technology to improve quality. The third thing you can do is to make yourself 24 by 7. All of us are resource crunched. So my office has to close down because I don't have a second shift, a third shift to operate. But technology works in all the shifts. I can pay my property tax sitting in a country outside, but my property is in Jhansi in Uttar Pradesh, so be it. I can pay it from anywhere. So online is the mode, not in line. And in line will change to online. And then you go 24 by 7. So these four things I think are very, very important for personal citizen benefit: quality, access, 24 by 7, and the fourth one was personalization. These four things. Now, the fifth one, which we are talking about, is the power that data gives you, which is the one I talked about that the next session is about. Data is something like an injection of truth. If I could give an injection to Padam that after giving him that injection, he starts speaking truth, then I'll know a lot about him that I don't know now. But think of the platform in the world which knows everything about you. Google search. You would have searched so many different things which only you know, I don't know about you. So the thing is, data is truth, injection of truth in a way that if you could access, like for example, here we are accessing data on how many people are moving in which stalls. We're not accessing, doing it for anything, I mean, just to demonstrate to you the power that it will give us the reality, the truth. You did not go there because we told you to go there. That is the truth of the conference. That it is the truth of the conference that I, as a mission director, am doing a session here, but there's some other session which has more, so I should not feel bad about it. I'm happy about it. That probably this session did not attract many other people, but something else which shows that people are more interested in that. So that is a truth serum. It gives you the real story. Second very important thing that data gives you is this ability to test. Now, if I, let's say, theoretically had two parallel conferences and I could test what happened there to this with the data, I could really have seen, oh, this works better than this one. Now, we do a lot of testing in cities. We create small solutions and then we scale it up. So before and after, let's say placemaking. Before placemaking, whether the shops were getting more income, after that, whether they're getting less income, whether the traffic has improved, whether people have a better experience, all that before after testing is possible through data. Then third thing that is possible is categorization. You don't want aggregate data. You know how many school children are boys, how many school children are girls. What are the different kinds of people who travel in a bus? What are the different kinds of people who travel by cycle? What is the percentage of mode share? So categorization is possible through data. So all kinds of intelligence you get through it. So these are the five things I think we should think of as broad benefits that can emerge from the use of technology in the life of real citizens. It can improve quality of services, it can improve access, it can help to personalize, it can improve 24, it can lead to 24 by 7 government, and it can give you a lot of data to test, to ideas, to innovate, and to make solutions which are more effective for everyone.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So yeah, we have 5 minutes up. So let's kind of yeah. It's okay. It's okay. Kunal, it's your session. Yeah, yeah. No, no. Thank you so much. And I don't know whether we can take any questions, but then if there is any one which is burning, we can take it. Otherwise, we can close the session. Oh, okay. Maybe one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please.
A question to, good evening, sir. A question to Kunal Kumar, sir. See, everybody is talking about data, data, and data. So ultimately, living condition of the citizen to improve using the data. What you have said, but everybody think IT, IoT products. We are from the Kakinada Smart City, but what happening is we are cycle one is going to finish next year. The infrastructure what we have it in ICCC that has its own life cycle that has to improvement required improvement actually. So on this monetization part also we need it, uh, something to bring it up. So on this I want your comments to sustain the infrastructure which was set up in a 4 years back. So it may not be utilize upcoming technology like blockchain and AI platforms may may not be sufficient current infrastructure. So for that, I need your comments to sustain ICCC for future growth of enhancing the citizen of India.
We will just close. I'll have your debate on the tea or coffee. Essentially, you will have to transform. Probably, you have the opportunity of creating the data hub for Kakinada through the data that comes out of ICCC, and then create a business model around the data hub with consultation among the various stakeholders because it's a critical consultation. Data hub will create a fear in people as to what data are they going to monetize, what is the data they're gathering. So you have to be open and transparent discussion with stakeholders, create a business model around it. There's no formula, but probably Kakinada will show us the way. Maybe some other city will show us the way. We are towards that process. We can discuss it. That's a very good question. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, all the panelists and speakers. I'll request you to please stay here for a while. And ऐसा हो जाता है when we have so much interesting content and excellent speakers. We almost had a full house. A wonderful round of applause for all the speakers. We had just a small memento, a token of respect. May I request Mr. Purushottam to hand it over to Shri Kunal Kumar ji? May I please? Yeah, it could be on the front of the camera, please. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Next one to Shri Vinay Goyal ji. Yeah, Mr. Ankit Ansthana. Yeah, and Mr. Murthy. Meghna, can I request both of us to present a token of respect to Mr. Puru? Thanks a lot. Thanks, excellent audience, amazing response. We're happy to host you for the next sessions as well. Kindly stay with us. Sir, I think we'll be reading you for next 30 minutes as well. And thanks all the CEOs and Mr. Purushottam for your time and feedback. Excellent. Audience, kindly stay back. We have many things to come up.
Before we begin with the next session, may I request everybody